We have a lot to discuss on tonight's episode of the MeidasTouch podcast. I'm here with Jordy. As you all know, Brett just had a baby, so it's just Jordy and me tonight. Let's get into it, folks. We want to talk about the assassination of Charlie Kirk that took place at Utah Valley University. We'll talk about what we know as of this recording. We'll talk about what I think has been a heinous response out of the Oval Office by Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans to immediately blame liberals, leftists, Democrats without even knowing the identity of the shooter, stoking further division. There have been multiple death threats at HBCUs today, historically black colleges and universities. Multiple other universities across the country have been targeted with death threats and bomb threats and other acts of violence. It should also be noted that yesterday, the same day as the assassination of Charlie Kirk, there was a school shooting that took place in Colorado with 3 students at this school being seriously injured as well. I don't want to forget that there is an epidemic of school shooting violence and violence in general in this country. We should talk about Donald Trump's physical condition today. He was at a 9/11 ceremony earlier in the day at the Pentagon, and he looked deeply unwell. His face was drooping. I am not a medical expert, but I've had people in my life who I know suffered from strokes or mini strokes, and I'll just say they look just like that. Again, I'm not an expert. I can't diagnose him, but the face was drooping. I'm going to play you video from him where like a bell is being rung during the memorial ceremony. And you see him there struggling and festering and like not fully even appreciating where he is. This is serious, folks. I believe the White House is covering up very serious health conditions there. And I remember there was a time where there was the New York Times or other corporate news would spend countless days and countless front pages focused on Biden. Biden looks like an Olympian athlete compared to what Donald Trump looks like right now. So we'll discuss that. Also, the inflation numbers came in hot, very bad inflation numbers. Headline inflation, 2.9% year over year. Then you have core inflation up 3.1% year over year. The cash squeeze of most Americans, very severe when you're talking about prices of coffee, audio equipment, clothing, groceries. On those categories, we saw really bad inflation numbers as inflation surges. Those jobless claim numbers you just saw there, some of the worst jobless claim numbers in a generation. We'll talk about that. Healthcare costs are soaring right now as well. And we're just a few weeks away from a potential government shutdown right now as Trump and MAGA Mike have just completely mismanaged the budget. The monthly deficit in August was $345 billion. Revenues, $344 billion. Spending, $689 billion. Thus, the total deficit for 2025 was $1.973 trillion with 1 month to go in the fiscal year. That's $76 billion higher than the same point in 2024. But wait a minute, Jordy. Donald Trump said that he brought in $17 trillion. So if the deficit is about $2 trillion this year and Trump brought in $17 trillion, doesn't that mean we've got a surplus of $15 trillion and we should be spending money on healthcare for everybody and education free and all of these benefits for people, and we could be really living in a golden age? Oh, wait. Donald Trump, the guy with the droopy face who's covering up the Epstein files and likely covering up his health condition and lied his entire life, who is a sexual abuser, a felon, a lifelong fraud, and a bankrupter. You mean to tell me that he was lying and we didn't really take in 17 trillion or even anywhere near there or even a trillion? He just made up the number like con artists do. But it's okay. Maybe in 2 more weeks we'll just find a solution to everything. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch podcast. Let's bring in Jordy. Jordy, we've got a lot to discuss.
We've got a lot to cover. That was a great intro, B. And I mean, let's just get into it. I'll toss it over to you in a sec. But look, I'm not going to spend a second of my time tonight eulogizing Charlie Kirk. My heart absolutely does go out to his wife and 2 young children that now have to grow up in a world without a father because of yet another instance of senseless gun violence in America. And by the way, Ben, you mentioned it in the intro. There was yet another school shooting this week that's not getting nearly enough attention, this time in Colorado. And look, here's the thing. I know we all know this. Violence is literally never the answer. And it's never going to be the answer for political disagreements because our strengths, they're in our ideas, not in bloodshed. And again, I know we all know this. As of the time of this recording, that lunatic assassin is still at large. No motives clear, no political affiliation clear. Yet the reaction from the right, Ben and Midas Mighty, the right-wing media and politicians, has been absolutely despicable. And that needs to be called out because it's horrific. And for our audio listeners, we're bringing these posts up now. This stuff is incredibly reminiscent of the right-wing media's reaction and right-wing politicians' reactions after Trump and Butler. And meanwhile, how did that turn out? Well, the kids' parents were MAGA and they were all registered Republicans. Right? It's in moments like this that we should all be looking to lower the temperature and find our shared humanity, not fueling more hatred and violence that MAGA and the modern day Republican Party are continuing to do, Ben.
I think about the Charleston church shooting back on June 17th, 2015, where that lunatic terrorist, Dylan Roof, killed 9 African Americans in the church during their Bible study at the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church, which was the oldest Black church in the southern United States. The motives were very clear. It was racist. It was anti-Black. Former President Obama at the time was the president. He did not speak from the Oval Office and say, this is on the hands of Republicans. You have been spreading anti-Black rhetoric. You are the ones responsible, and Americans need to rid the country of. He didn't do that. What did he say? What you're supposed to say, what you're supposed to do, what good people should do, that this is a time where we need to come together and that the actions of a terrorist like Dylan Roof should not destroy who we are as Americans. So let's remember who we are. Let's remember this beautiful melting pot that is the United States of America. And let us not be provoked the way people like Dylan Roof wanted us to be provoked to go after each other. Now is a time of healing. That's what former President Obama said. That's not unique to Obama. That's how leaders of the United States have behaved and acted before. They don't use the pulpit of the Oval Office to say the radical left, by the way, without even knowing the motives, what the causes are, without even having any details. But the fact that the entire MAGA Republican apparatus, starting at the highest level in the Oval Office with Donald Trump, then at the senator level, at the Congress level, real leaders of the party, not randos on TikTok, not randos on Twitter, not a bunch of random people, the actual freaking leadership, all saying we need to eradicate leftist Democrats for doing this to Charlie Kirk without even knowing who did it, and then casting it as though this is a Democrat and leftist thing. It's beyond irresponsible. To me, it is maliciously intending to cause more violence and more division and to provoke attacks in the United States. And we saw, as I mentioned at the outset, we've seen 5 or 6 HBCUs, it may even be more by now, that had to shut down because Black schools are getting threatened. Why are Black schools getting threatened because of what happened at Utah Valley University? Because people are viewing the types of messages that Donald Trump's saying And they're saying, oh, got it. You're giving me an order right now to go after them, to go after the other, to go after people who may not look like. I got it. That's why in these times you expect leaders to actually lead. And it's not just unique to HBCUs, although they're being targeted more than others. We saw other universities, UMass, the Naval Academy. We're seeing this take place across the country right now. And it is because you have the individual in the Oval Office further provoking these things. And it is horrific to see. And then when we saw a photo of what the suspect looked like, and again, we need more data and more information. As of this recording, they think they have the name of the individual. But it looks like a white guy wearing an American flag shirt. That's what it looks like as of now. And again, I think it's important, Jordy, as you said, to condemn in the strongest possible terms violence. Yes. Violence is never the answer. What happened to Charlie Kirk is not just entirely unacceptable. I can't think of the words strongly enough to condemn killing another human being like that. So I want to be very, very clear about my view on that. Also, though, that doesn't mean that we have to now go and pretend that Charlie Kirk was some great guy. I can do both at the same time. I can clearly condemn political violence, but I could also recognize that Charlie Kirk was someone who spewed some of the most venomous, hateful things that divided our country. His anti-black, anti-gay, anti-trans rhetoric, anti-other, the things that he would say about leftists, his outright provoking of violence, the words that he would use after school shootings were downright dastardly and despicable. That doesn't mean that you can condone political violence in the sense, but it's also deeply disturbing when I see corporate media trying to act like this was a good guy. I mean, right. When I see in my neighborhood the flags, because Trump ordered the flags to be lowered, I don't think I'm just being real. I don't think you lower the flags for someone like a Charlie Kirk. I don't think it's a tribute at Yankee Stadium. I don't think that. The guy said hateful things while he was alive. Nonetheless, in the strongest possible terms, you condemn political violence. We condemn political violence. Jordy.
1000%. Well said, B. And it's a real issue from the top down of this Republican Party, Ben, as you pointed out, right? You see Donald Trump in his address last night. I mean, just kind of chills in like a really dark, bad way went through my body when I was listening to Donald Trump give that speech, talking about these radical leftists who cause this. And again, no one knows. As of right now, this recording still, the motives are totally unclear, like totally unclear. So to just jump to these conclusions, very similarly to what they did with Trump in Butler, it's dangerous. And why is it dangerous? Well, we're seeing it, right? We're seeing the swatting happening in the college campuses today. Something's going down at the naval base right now. Still more information's coming out about that literally as we speak. It's really, really vicious rhetoric like this that instigates more violence. And that's the scariest part. And this is what I'm getting fed up with corporate media right now. And I understand what they're trying to say, but we've all been watching the coverage everywhere. You can't miss it. And people are saying, at the same time, both sides just need to tone down the rhetoric. I'm sorry. I'm only seeing the rhetoric coming from one side. And it is nasty, vile stuff. And it is coming from the MAGA side. And it's not even an opinion. I mean, Nancy Mace yesterday, when she got in front of the cameras, as more information was still unfolding, the first thing she did is, these Democrats need to go. You got all these MAGA politicians talking about rounding up Democrats and deploying National Guard to gather up leftists, all these MAGA influencers out there on X. You see these posts floating around. I'm sorry, but this is the problem right here is we live in a society that MAGA and these radical right figures want to jump to conclusions constantly just to own some sort of narrative, right? To own the lib, right? Because for them, the narrative is the game. The narrative is the plan. The narrative is the only thing that matters because Once facts and data enter the equation, they stop caring. Again, let's look at Trump and Butler. That family had MAGA signs in their front lawn. I watched the local news coverage on it. That family were registered Republicans. The kid was a registered Republican. Once that information trickled out, all of a sudden they stopped caring. But they didn't update their theories about what happened. No, they still ran with, they tried to get him. They tried to kill him. And that's exactly, again, what we're seeing here. And we condone violence. Absolutely. There is no place in that.
We absolutely condemn violence. Absolutely.
Absolutely condemn violence. Absolutely. There's no place in the society for this. Nuh-uh, never, ever. And then at the same time, what we're seeing with this whole Charlie Kirk situation is the same exact thing, where these MAGA Republicans are just jumping to conclusions to own the narrative. And it's just so despicable. And it's going to continue to lead to more violence, it looks like, because it's literally playing out today in the streets because of their rhetoric. Unbelievable.
Well, you take a look, too, at the politically motivated assassination of Melissa Hortman. Melissa Hortman was former Speaker of the House in Minnesota. She was targeted in a political assassination. We saw that person in like the Jason mask. It was a horrifying sight. Hortman and her husband were assassinated. First, all the MAGA wanted to do was blame the Democrats and say, oh, this was a Democratic thing. Governor Walz appointed this guy to the board, so it must be the Democrats' fault. The guy was a Trump supporter. The guy was a Republican. The guy was politically motivated against Hortman. Didn't stop MAGA Republicans from pushing their narrative. Donald Trump didn't even call the governor of Minnesota, Governor Walz. Donald Trump didn't even call, because Donald Trump, he's a mess. Why would I ever call him? I'm not going to give him a call. Why wouldn't you give him a call or even address it? Or how about this? I live in Los Angeles. During the wildfires, while I was evacuating my home, while we feared for our lives and the lives of friends and family members, leaving our homes behind, while so many people lost their homes, the MAGAs lied about the whole thing. Look, Gavin Newsom, he's doing this to you. He's the one who's doing it. And that's really the moment where Governor Newsom learned, holy crap, because at first he was ignoring it, and because he's like, I got to deal with the fire. And then he saw what these people were doing and how they were doing it. And he's like, so you mean to tell me that I have to focus almost the same amount of my time on social media and digital media as I do actually as the governor dealing with the fire? Otherwise, the misinformation's going to spread and undermine our recovery effort. Don't we all come together as a freaking country? We don't anymore. And Jordy, to your point, I don't view it as a both sides issue. Don't get me wrong. I think is there people on the left who are saying entirely inappropriate things and things that I strongly disagree with about Charlie Kirk and about others, and that sickens me, frankly. Like, of course there's that's happening, but it's happening, as I mentioned at the outset, from like random people on social media who don't even know their identity, random people who are being used. And this is what right wing has always been able to capture as avatars. We're like, this is how liberals act. This is how Democrats act. And it's like, I don't know who these people are. A random college student. Who is this person? This person isn't a leader in the Democratic Party. This person doesn't have moral authority or authority at all to speak on behalf of others. You're cherry picking a crazy person or a deranged person, and you're saying, look at how the libs are. I don't know who this person is. On the other hand, the graphic that you showed, Jordy, earlier, are MAGA leaders. Donald Trump's out there saying this. MAGA Republican Congress members are out there saying this. People who run their movement, who are the decision makers, are the ones saying these things about rounding them up and eradicating them and things like horrible stuff. You mentioned the Nancy Mace clip. Let me play the Nancy Mace clip right now. Here's Nancy Mace yesterday. Again, before any news is out. I mean, you have to remember the FBI screwed that at this point, as of this recording, the FBI screwed it up twice. They picked one guy who was like a mentally ill guy who was not the shooter, and who was known to go to all these like political events in Utah, and he would always get arrested for misdemeanors. They picked him up first. Then they picked up an Arab guy who happened to be a Charlie Kirk supporter, and they brought the Arab guy in for questioning because he was Arab. And that's when Kash Patel was like, we found the guy, and it was like the wrong guy. But then on that basis, you have Nancy Mace, senators, congresswomen, congress members blaming liberals and Democrats, so they're behind this. This is what Nancy Mace said. Let's play it.
I'm going to say this. Democrats own what happened today. I am devastated. My kids have called panicking. They probably, all the kids of every conservative in the country called panicking. Just because you speak your mind on an issue doesn't mean you get shot.
Then by that logic, do Republicans own the shooting of the 2 Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota?
Political.
Isn't this on both sides?
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm asking.
We
a
don't
serious
know what
question.
condition Charlie Kirk is in right now. Some raging leftist lunatic put a bullet through his neck, and you want to talk about Republicans right now? No.
No, I'm asking.
No, not
you,
at all.
You said the Democrats
no,
have
this
to own
is
it too,
on.
but
The
I'm asking,
Democrats own this.
But isn't there a problem
this.
with political violence across the spectrum?
Yeah, we're talking about Charlie Kirk right now. That's the subject of this that we're talking about right now. Democrats own this 100%.
And again, how deeply irresponsible that rhetoric is. We've heard that from senators. We heard that from other Congress members. We heard that from Donald Trump in the Oval Office. There was a concerted push of that messaging. And in terms of violence across the country, yesterday there was the shooting at the Colorado school. And today, as more information is coming in, we talked about it earlier in the show about the active shooter at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis. There appear to be many fatalities, at least 3 casualties, rather. Let me be clear. At least 3 casualties are being reported so far by authorities there, with additional gunshots being heard near Beach Hall. And this is a time where we need to solve these issues. This is a time where 85% of Americans support common sense gun reform. By the way, do I believe in thoughts and prayer? Absolutely, I believe in thoughts and prayer. Do I believe in mental health investments to deal with a mental health epidemic in this country? Absolutely. I can also agree that we need common sense gun reform. Now, when it comes to mental health activities and research and investments and deployment of funds, guess who doesn't fund it? Guess who's reduced mental health funding in schools and universities? MAGA Republicans have stripped the budget of critical mental health funding. And they don't support common sense gun reform despite 85% of Americans. Then when you say you support common sense gun reform, what do the MAGA Republicans say? They go, oh, you hate thoughts and prayers? You hate religion? You hate Christians? You hate Christians? You hate thoughts? No. Stop with that. Stop. Of course, thoughts and prayers, fine. Absolutely. But let's solve freaking problems, because the rest of the world looks at the United States like we're a bunch of freaking lunatics. They look at this country and say, what the hell has this country become? You have ICE agents mass disappearing human beings off the streets, throwing people into concentration camps. You've got every single day there seems to be another school shooting or mass shooting. There have been close to 50 this year. The hell is happening? And then we have the person in the Oval Office provoking more violence each and every day. When we come back, I want to talk more about that. We've got a lot to discuss here on the MeidasTouch podcast. As a quick reminder, hit subscribe. Help us get to 6 million subscribers here, and also become a member of our YouTube channel. It helps so much grow this channel. And there are lots of people who can't afford memberships. You can gift memberships to people who can't afford them, just click join, and then it'll offer you to gift memberships to others. If you can gift memberships to others, there are bonus features on the MeidasTouch YouTube channel, like a special podcast I do with Ron Filipkowski.
Ben's too humble to really talk about this. That Ask the Editor segment that's for the members of the MeidasTouch YouTube is one of my personal favorites of the entire channel. So if you can donate somebody a membership, become a member yourself, that is well worth the price of admission just for that podcast that Ben does with our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski. Benji, sorry, back to you.
Let's take our first quick break of the show.
All right, by now you know Brett and I are obsessed with Sol and their out-of-office gummies. Look, I still love a good night out, but I'm not always in the mood to drink. And luckily, I found a great alternative. Sol's out-of-office gummies. They give me that same light, happy buzz without the hangover, sugar, or awkward next morning. After a long day, I used to pour a glass of wine to relax, but lately, I've been reaching for Sol's out-of-office gummies and drinks instead. They help me unwind and ease into my evening without the alcohol or next day fog. Struggling to switch off at night? Sol's out-of-office gummies help me relax, quiet my thoughts, and fall asleep naturally. Just the right balance of CBD and THC to ease me into a restful night. Sol is a wellness brand that believes feeling good should be fun and easy. Sol specializes in delicious hemp-derived THC and CBD products designed to boost your mood and help you unwind. Their best-selling out-of-office gummies were designed to provide a mild, relaxing buzz, boost your mood, and enhance creativity and relaxation. With 5 different strengths, you can tailor the dose to fit your vibe, from a gentle 1.5 mg microdose to their newest 15 mg gummy for a more elevated experience. And if you like their out-of-office gummies, try the new out-of-office beverage, a refreshing alcohol-free alternative that's perfect for winding down on the couch or socializing with friends. Bring on the good vibes and treat yourself to Sol today. Right now, Sol is offering my audience 30% off your entire order. Go to getsol.com and use the code Meidas. That's getsol.com, promo code Meidas for 30% off. When was the last time you truly trusted the seafood you brought home? I used to question everything from nutrition and taste to sustainability until I discovered Wild Alaskan Company. Wild Alaskan Company is the best way to get wild-caught, perfectly portioned, nutrient-dense seafood delivered directly to your door. Trust me, you haven't tasted fish this good. I was so excited the first time I received my shipment from the Wild Alaskan Company. I received my Pacific halibut and pan-seared it that evening. It was delicious. The Wild Alaskan Company is 100% wild caught, never farmed. This means there are no antibiotics, GMOs, or additives. Just clean, real fish that support healthy oceans and fishing communities. It's nutrient rich and full of flavor. Wild Alaskan's fish is frozen off the boat to lock in taste, texture, and nutrients like omega-3s. My favorite, it's also sustainably sourced. Wild caught from Alaska, every order supports sustainable harvesting practices. And your membership delivers flexible shipments, expert tips, and a truly feel-good seafood experience. If you're not completely satisfied with your first box, Wild Alaskan Company will give you a full refund, no questions asked. No risk, just high-quality seafood. Not all fish are the same. Get seafood you can trust. Go to wildalaskan.com/Meidas for $35 off your first box of premium wild-caught seafood. That's wildalaskan.com/Meidas for $35 off your first order. Thanks to Wild Alaskan Company for sponsoring this episode. Let's go. Shout out Sol, shout out Wild Alaskan. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes if there's an exit survey. Let them know we sent you. Benji, real quick, Kash Patel and the FBI. I mean, this is a colossal failure. You mentioned this earlier. I just wanted to comment on it because 2 suspects, not the people. And they were sort of boasting, especially about the second suspect who they picked up, that they got their guy. And now we're nearly going on 2 days now without the person in custody. This is what happens when you don't put serious people, when you put podcasters / influencers in these high cabinet positions to lead these high offices without any real experience. This is what you should expect. And we know that he had fired the previous head, Ben, of that force prior to this all going down, about 6 weeks or so, Ben, before. I know you know more information on that as well. And that's the scary part. When you start putting influencers in these positions, like, this is the stuff that we've been warning about. This is why you need people who are actually experienced in these fields leading the charge, Ben.
So the head of the field office in Utah was a lady by the name of Mehtab Saeed, Pakistani lady. After September 11th, she decided that she wanted to work in the FBI. She actually worked as an attaché in the Pakistan FBI field office. She was so well regarded. She ran counterterrorism out of Washington, D.C., and then she led the Utah FBI office. Over the past few weeks, as the purge of other FBI officials accelerated by the Trump regime, they've been disproportionately getting rid of women and minorities. So Pakistani woman, see you later, despite her having a wealth of knowledge. They fired her. I think they started forcing her out in August, and she officially left, I think, within the past few weeks. But she would be leading that Utah field office. So she's gone. Yesterday morning, there was a massive lawsuit that was filed by at least 3 of the top FBI officials in Maine Justice FBI in Washington, D.C., in the Maine FBI D.C. office, including Driscoll, the former acting director, basically, of the FBI, a guy named Evans, who was basically one of the top people, and a guy named Spencer, 3 of the top positions. And one of the main things that they warned in there about was that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were so focused on their social media retweets and likes that they were prioritizing that over institutional awareness and over the integrity of the underlying investigations and cases and the work that the FBI was going to do. Also, we all know who is leading the domestic terrorist threat task force right now. It's a guy named Thomas Fugate III, a 22-year-old former Trump intern with no law enforcement background, no FBI background. I think the guy was like a summer gardener before interning for Trump. And then Trump appointed this, again, 22-year-old guy to lead domestic threat assessments. So, Jordy, not only on the back end does it seem like there were colossal failures, just based on this idea of social media posting. We got him before you got him. You don't do that. But what about the threat assessments before? When it comes to that recent Minnesota shooting at the school that took place, the individual who engaged in the shooting was posting all over social media. He said, "I'm intending to shoot," over and over and over again. That would normally be a function of FBI going through and identify. You can't say that they're going to be perfect, but even if they're batting 300 or 400, they're able to stop a lot of these events from happening. Well, right now it's being led by Thomas Fugate III. And so to me, even though the world has turned its collective attention, not us here at the MeidasTouch Network, from what went down with the flash floods in Texas and the hundreds of deaths of children when local, state, and federal were all unprepared for the flash floods and totally mishandled it. What if you had a competent FEMA that didn't fire all the necessary people that were in Texas that worked for the various weather departments and needed to be there, that were fired or let go or resigned or were pushed out? Local and state officials did not have the right preparation. They stole the money that Biden gave for warning systems so that they could give themselves bonuses versus invest in the warning systems because they didn't want to return the money. And then the feds weren't there. It took, days before Kristi Noem signed off on urban search and rescue, even though they were ready to go. God knows where she was during that 4th of July weekend. But at some point, as these things start to mount, you're like, okay, we've seen far more deaths from natural disasters. We've seen far more inabilities to respond to these types of terroristic events. And we know that Trump's firing the people who are responsible for these positions. And so I think it bears mentioning that again as well. And you go from domestic, you go look at foreign policy right now. You know, the same way you have Donald Trump. Again, we'll talk about the economy here. Oh, we're no inflation. We're in a golden age. Everything is great. Things are amazing. What are you talking about? Things couldn't be better. When it comes to foreign policy, you've got Donald Trump saying, I've stopped 10 wars and everything is great. And look, we've renamed unlawfully the Department of Defense to the Department of War. So we're strong. Look, everybody, we've moved 4 of our biggest ships and a nuclear submarine off the coast of Venezuela, and we shot a fishing boat allegedly with 11 people on it. And then Trump posts ISIS-style murder videos killing purportedly 11 people. He goes, they're Tren de Aragua, and they were headed for the United States with cocaine, even though Marco Rubio said they were headed for Trinidad. Then they changed the story and said the United States. It looked like a 16-footer, maybe a 24-footer max. Didn't have the fuel to get to the United States. Well, Tren de Aragua also is known for human trafficking. So how do you know they didn't have innocent human beings on that fishing boat? How do you know they weren't just fishermen? Why don't we have additional information from our government about a freaking death video that Donald Trump posted? We don't get to know the identities. There's no press conferences about it. We're done talking about it. Trump posts an ISIS-style death video of a fishing boat, and then we're supposed to just move on. By the way, even if it was cocaine, even if it was heading to the United States, we don't have the death penalty for that in the United States. We don't kill people for that. You don't get to be judge, jury, and executioner of people's life. Why wouldn't you just stop the boat then if it was cocaine and say, we know there's cocaine on the boat, turn around? You're just going to blow it up with military equipment? How ridiculous does that look? And to me, that doesn't show strength. It shows weakness. You know what showing strength would be? To me, showing strength would be when Poland was invaded. There was an invasion with all of the things happening. Let's not forget. Poland was invaded by Russia with drones. Eastern Poland. And not just one. Dozens and could have been up to 350 Russian drones went into Polish airspace. Poland had to activate its air force to shoot down the drones. Poland has invoked Article 4 of NATO, which is the precursor to Article 5. Article 4 is consultation, saying we should talk, NATO, because we may need to have a military response to Russia. Things are getting absolutely serious here, as can be. And so what's Donald Trump's response to that? Does Donald Trump make any posts? He made one short post and he was like, what's going on? He's like Jerry Seinfeld. What's the deal with Russia? What's the deal, everybody? You going in, you go, here we go. He goes, here we go. What's the deal? And then he was asked today, what is your view? What is your view about Russia sending drones into Poland? And so after Donald Trump's first appearance earlier today, when he was at the Pentagon for the 9/11 ceremony, this was Trump on Russian drones in Poland. He goes, yeah, it could have been a mistake. Could have been a mistake. Here, play this clip.
What's your reaction to Russian drone incursion into Poland?
Could have been a mistake. Could have been a mistake. But regardless, I'm not happy about anything having to do with that whole situation. But hopefully it's going to come to an end.
Hopefully it's going to come to an end. And Jordy, Poland's foreign minister, Sikorski, posted, no, that wasn't a mistake. This just makes us look totally weak, Jordy. What do you think?
Absolutely. Donald Trump makes us look weaker and weaker with every passing day that goes by. And it goes back to my theory when Putin met with Donald Trump a few weeks ago in Alaska. It was to size the guy up. It was to be like, oh, yeah, this Trump guy is as weak and pathetic as everyone's telling me. You know what? It's even worse than 2016. Like, this is beyond repair at this point. And so to see Donald Trump get in front of the cameras and once again take Putin's side, it's appalling. And like, it should it should hurt everybody seeing a United States president act like that, because that is not leadership. That is not leadership. I don't know what that is, other than that's just a pathetic response to what's been happening. And yet I just get frustrated, Ben, with corporate media and how they handle it and how they just let the guy skate by. That's why I'm glad we here at the MeidasTouch Network will show these clips and hold his feet to the fire on this stuff, because this isn't normal. Like, none of this that's been happening is normal. And it's okay for you personally, I'm talking to you, the viewer right now, to feel like, hey, this is all kind of crazy stuff, right? Like, this is all insane. It is. And yet when you turn on the TV or cable or wherever, and corporate media just tries to normalize all of this behavior, Ben, each and every day, like, it's exhausting. And that's why I'm so glad we have this community, the Meidas Mighty, and everybody here to just kind of just see this for what it is, as utter and incredible weakness from Donald Trump at the highest level of government. And leadership, man, it's top down. And so his whole weakness, Ben, has just manifested itself into the modern day Republican Party, where these aren't Republicans, the Nancy Maces of the world. They're not the Republicans that your grandparents knew. They just aren't. I don't know what this is, but they can never, ever have a differing opinion from their dear leader, Donald Trump, because otherwise they're going to get a mean X post or a mean Truth Social post, Ben, about them. And they'll be scared and they'll be upset that their dear leader made fun of them. So they don't even work for their constituents anymore, this modern day Republican Party. All they report to is their dear leader, Donald Trump. And when you see weakness like that, Ben, play out every single day, I mean, that's utter cowardice. I don't even know what to say about that.
And Jordy, it's not just even a Republican thing. There is a more, but it's mostly embodied by, as a political party, it's embodied in the Republican Party. But overall, there is this moral rot, like a brain rot, that has overcome, like a tsunami, has overcome our country, where not everybody, but like corporate leaders have lost all semblance of a moral compass in these various moments. On a day like today, where we have the Naval Academy on lockdown after a shooting, you had, again, Charlie Kirk's assassin was on the loose. You have Russia launching drones into Poland. You have devastating economic numbers, where Americans are worried right now if they're going to go bankrupt, if they're going to be able to afford food for their family tomorrow. Most Americans are suffering right now. And that's not an exaggeration of the word suffering, are psychologically tortured. Then you have Donald Trump go to Yankee Stadium, and he takes a photo in the locker room with the Yankees. Everybody there in the locker room smiling. Donald Trump's thumbs are up. I'm just thinking to myself, how many players on that team are Latino? How many players on that team come from backgrounds where their people are under attack from Donald Trump right now? I mean, there was once in our nation's history a tradition, though, of people standing up against authority, standing up against this crap, and standing up for your people. I remember, I represented Colin Kaepernick when he took a knee, and I was very suspicious that a lot of the support for him at the time was performative. When players came together and athletes and lots of people and people stood up against Trump back in 2017, when he said, "Get the son of a B off the field." Get the son of a B off the field would be the nicest thing Donald Trump said today. Get the son of a B off the field feels like preschool compared to what Donald Trump does before 10 a.m. in the morning in terms of what Trump's rhetoric is. And I see corporate leaders of all, from leaders of banks Well, what do you think? I saw they interviewed the head of Wells Fargo the other day on one of these financial channels. Well, what do you make of Donald Trump attacking the chairman of the Federal Reserve and going after other governors of the Federal Reserve? And what do you think the Wells Fargo said? Well, I think that we've always had a history of presidents expressing their own independent views towards the Fed. No, we haven't. We've never had anything like this. What are you talking about? We've never had a situation in recent history where you have masked ICE agents being given the green light by the Supreme Court to racially profile Latinos, a lot of them in the community where my wife's family lives, in communities like that, and kidnap them because they're Latino, regardless of whether they're citizens or not, and throw them into concentration camps. And then I see the freaking Yankees thumbs upping with him. F you to the Yankees. F you to the Boston Red. F you to anybody at this position of time who has, if you have money and you have privilege, and I'm looking at that photo, all of those people are probably set for life already. And you're too cowardly to do anything but stand in that photo and give the thumbs up. Like, y'all are a bunch of real pathetic human beings, is how I feel about all of it. You don't need to be in the picture. You don't need to be in the photo. Maybe have some empathy for what Americans are going through right now in this moment when they are suffering, when your own people are being freaking kidnapped. Again, I'll go through and I'll find out how many Latinos are on that team. When your own people are suffering, that's how you is it moral rot? Are you so delusional? Are you hateful people? Do you just care about your money? Are you so devoid of what the hell is happening in our country? And that's one of the things, Jordy, as more information is become available to the public, rather than creating a more informed citizenry, it's actually taken us back to the Middle Ages, to the Dark Ages, where there was no information at all. And you just had aristocrats and poor people. And no one knew the information but the kings and queens. And it seems that with all this new information, we've just been brought back to the Dark Ages, and all of that's been able to emerge again. Well, as long as I have this microphone, I'm not going to stop what I'm doing, and you're not going to stop what you're doing. And this community is going to, because when history's written, I want it to be very clear where I stand, no matter what the hell happens to me. And that's on the side of empathy and love and bringing people together and calling out this crap. It should be very easy for you to say, I do not support somebody who's kidnapping human beings by sending masked agents to freaking go after. What are we talking about here? Anyway, let's take our last quick break of the show. Join, become a member, support what we're doing. We obviously need you more than ever to help our growth. That should be pretty obvious based on what's happening in our freaking country right now. So please become a member, buy memberships for others. Go to MeidasPlus.com. Home stretch when we return on this episode of the MeidasTouch podcast. We'll be right back.
What does the future hold for business? Ask 9 experts, you'll get 10 answers. Bull market, bear market, will rates rise or fall? Is inflation going up or down? Can someone please invent a crystal ball? Until then, over 42,000 businesses have future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, HR into one fluid program. With one unified business management suite, there's one source of truth, giving you the visibility and control you need to make quick decisions. With real-time insights and forecasting, you're peering into the future with actionable data. When you're closing the books in days, not weeks, you're spending less time looking backwards and more time on what's next. I use this and you should too. Whether your company is earning millions or even hundreds of millions, NetSuite helps you respond to immediate challenges and seize your biggest opportunities. Speaking of opportunity, download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning at netsuite.com/Meidas. The guide is free to you at netsuite.com/Meidas. netsuite.com/Meidas.
So you ever wake up and feel like your body just hit the snooze button on life? Yeah, same. Honestly, aging sneaks up on you in some wild ways. Whether it's a night out or a good workout, I just don't bounce back the way that I used to. One day you're full of energy, the next you're Googling how to stretch without pulling a muscle. I believe one of the best aging breakthroughs of the last decade is Qualia Senolytic, and here's why. It's designed to help your body naturally eliminate something called senescent cells, also known as zombie cells. These are the ones that just hang around after they've stopped doing their job, draining your energy and making you feel, well, old. Think joint discomfort, sluggish recovery, low energy, the whole deal. Qualia Senolytic is a groundbreaking supplement made with 9 plant-based nutrients, and you only take it 2 days a month. That's it. Since I started taking it, I felt more energized, quicker to recover from workouts, and honestly, just more like me again. Plus, Qualia's breakthrough formulation is vegan, non-GMO, and tested by leading scientists. Experience the science of feeling younger. Go to qualialife.com/Meidas for up to 50% off your purchase and use code Meidas for an additional 15%. That's QUALIA life.com/Meidas, MEIDAS, for that extra 15% off. Your older self will thank you. And thanks to Qualia for sponsoring this episode.
Want this to be your most radiant summer yet? Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet makes it easy to target fat loss, support lean muscle, and reset your metabolism, so you look and feel your best all summer long. In just 5 days, Prolon works at the cellular level to rejuvenate you from the inside out and help you hit your summer health goals. Prolon is a plant-based nutrition program featuring soups, snacks, and beverages designed to nourish the body while keeping it in a fasting state, triggering cellular rejuvenation and renewal. Next Gen builds on the original Prolon with 100% organic soups and teas, a richer taste, and ready-to-eat meals. Developed over decades at USC's Longevity Institute and backed by top US medical centers, Prolon has been shown to support biological age reduction, metabolic health, skin appearance, fat loss, and energy. No matter the season, when I'm craving a real reset, Prolon is the only nutrition program that works for me. It's convenient, backed by Nobel-winning science, and it works. For a limited time, you can be first in line to experience the new Next Gen at special savings. Prolon is offering the MeidasTouch podcast listeners 15% off site-wide, plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day nutrition program. Just visit prolonlife.com/Meidas. That's prolonlife.com/Meidas to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/Meidas. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Benji, just commenting real quick on that Yankees photo, man. My blood boils looking at that, because you're so right. All of those guys in those photos, yeah, they're set for life. You know what? Their kids are set for life. And you know what? For some of them, their kids' kids are set for generations of their kids are set for lives. And you just see them there smiling with the guy that's calling the Epstein files, the hoax, the Epstein hoax, ladies and gentlemen. And it's just like y'all are such clowns, man. Like, that guy is just a despicable human being, if you could even call him a human being. And to let him skate by with that, like, again, Ben, to your point, the data's out there. The facts are out there. Wake up, everybody. Like, how insulated can you really be that you just don't see this? Or are the algorithms that strong where you only see what you want to see? And that's a scary thought too. And we get later on this episode, Benji, and this is a good episode. I miss Brett. I'm excited to have him back, but you and I don't get to do this too often. So I like the one-on-ones with you and me, B. I think we're doing a pretty good job. Where do you want to go next?
Well, also, as I look at that Yankees photo,
never been proud to be a Mets fan. Didn't think I'd ever say that.
They didn't have the God-given, or whatever you want to call it, given talent of being a professional baseball player. They would be ending up rounded up by Donald Trump with ICE agents and masks and thrown into camps like Alligator Alcatraz. And I have to imagine that they have people in their family or extended family who are experiencing terror and torture at the hands of this regime, and they're taking photographs with the guy. As I told you, it's deeply personal to me, but obviously I'm fighting for all of the people here on this network, because when the Supreme Court blesses the Trump's ability to do what they call the roving patrols of the Latino communities, the ICE agents on a daily basis are going through the neighborhood where my wife lives. And they're going to the gym where my wife's or my mother-in-law would work out, and they're hanging out in front of the churches, where they would go to pray, and the people are terrified to leave, and they're hanging out in front of the schools where my nieces and nephews go to school. And I don't know. I don't know. They're not going after the criminals. They're not going after the bad guys. They're going after the hard workers. They're going after street vendors. They're going after people who are showing up for court appearances, who are just going through the process. They're going after people who are here for 30 years, 40 years, who don't even know where their homeland, and they don't even have a connection to to the original country that they're from. Masked agents rounding people off the streets. They're calling their Chicago invasion Operation Midway Blitz. Midway Blitz, as though this is like a major invasion of like a country. They're doing it to states in the United States as we speak. Again, it is utterly, utterly beyond me. I want to talk about the economy though as well, because we got those inflation numbers showing inflation came in hot. You don't want inflation to come in hot. You want it to come in cool. Okay. Headline inflation, 2.9% year over year. Core inflation, 3.1% year over year. Just so what that means, 3.1% more this year than last year. So if you are concerned, you're like, whoa, inflation's bad last year. Well, it's 3.1% higher this year than it was last year. And inflation was heading down. Now it's heading up. When I had the opportunity to interview Democratic Congress member Brendan Boyle, the ranking member on the budget committee, he goes, the big concern also about these inflation numbers is that now what we're seeing are the tariffs really kicking in. Because before, Trump would do the taco thing. He always chickens out. I don't know, some people don't like the taco expression, but in any event,
Tacos on the outs.
He would. There's some people who like taco's not cool. Don't do taco anymore. I don't know, but in any event, he would delay. Now the tariffs are set, and they're harmful. And lots of businesses that have done as much as possible to eat the tariffs here in the United States, not the country of origin, because it's paid by the importing company here in the United States. They've either gone bankrupt. That's why we see more bankruptcies than in any recent period of time. Double the bankruptcies already than were in the past 2 years before, and we're not anywhere in the year's not over. And we are now seeing a very significant surge in prices. We're all seeing it now. Jordy, Meidas Mighty, who would have warned us about this? Who would have known that this could have been true? How about 16 Nobel laureates and former Vice President Kamala Harris, who during the debate with Donald Trump just was spitting the data out there and saying, here's what the Nobel laureate economists say. Let's play the clip of Kamala Harris during the debate. Let's play it.
What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
I mean, it's an excellent point, and it's backed up with data. And then the point at the end, especially with Donald Trump, his only interest is in himself. And could that not be more clear, Ben? Could that not be more clear with every passing day?
I mean, who would have known that if you follow the data, or if you just accept the most basic concept that a tariff is a tax on the American consumer. You literally, when you are paying the tariff, the importing company pays the levy to get the product. Oh, the product costs this. All right, you fill out a form and then you pay the government whatever the tariff rate is. If it's 15%, if it's 50%, you name it. Now, if you lie about the goods that you imported, you're prosecuted for a felony. So if you try to hide it, which people try to do, you could be prosecuted for that. But you have to report as the company, here's what I imported. It's from this country, it's from that country. So then to the government, I'm paying you this. That's what it is. So then if I'm the company, I've now had to pay, if it's from India, 50% more. Unless you're Apple and you give Donald Trump a golden block and you get an exemption. But if you're another company, it's 50%. If it's Brazil, because Donald Trump was pissed that the Brazilian courts did what our courts should have done here, and Jair Bolsonaro, the insurrectionist former president of Brazil, was prosecuted and today found guilty and will probably go to jail for the rest of his life. Good. The way Donald Trump should have. The Brazil Supreme Court works. Our Supreme Court gives Donald Trump absolute immunity and then says that you can racially profile in the United States. So that's our Supreme Court. Great work, American right-wing fascist Supreme Court. The Brazil Supreme Court holds its insurrectionist former leaders accountable. But tariffs in Brazil, 50%. So if you're bringing in Brazilian coffee, Brazil exports the coffee. You as the American company say, I got Brazilian coffee and I spent $50,000, whatever it is, on the coffee that came in. Then I'm going to pay an extra 50% on it. So now I'm going to pay $75,000 for it. So now the company says, well, my profit margins already were 5%. So how am I going to make a profit if my margins were 5% when I brought it in for $50,000 and now it's $75,000, meaning I would now be losing a significant amount of money. I've got to now raise my prices on the consumer. And the consumer may stop buying my products altogether, or they may pay a higher price. That's what it is. This isn't a complicated, it's not a complicated concept. Yet you have Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent go up there and Howard Lutnick and now they just go, nah, it's not, yeah, we're good. It's like a golden age. We're in a golden age. Everything's amazing. We're great. We've never been better. And now they're like, well, we think that maybe in 2026 things will be good. What's Donald Trump saying? We're really going to start to see the effects of our plan in 2027. You know, the definition of a Ponzi schemer, the way I like to describe it, is you rob Peter to pay Paul, and then you keep it going while then you're profiting from it all along the way. Well, that's basically what the tariff scheme is. And Donald Trump says, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. I need 2 more weeks. Give me 2 more weeks. That's just what a Ponzi schemer does, hoping that in 2 weeks they'll be able to figure out a way to get out of the fraud. It's just what they do. It's what we see over and over again. So we saw jobless claim numbers as well, not just an issue of inflation. The jobless claim numbers were horrible. They were very high today. I think we have that as well. Where's that graphic? 263,000 jobless claims last week. That's the highest in almost 4 years. We see that a lot. The highest in almost 4 years, 4 years, 4 years. Yeah, when Donald Trump was in office before, during COVID, or you hear since the Great Recession. So we're getting all these indicators where things look like the height of COVID, the Great Recession, or stagflation, which means decreasing GDP, rising unemployment, rising inflation. That went back to the 1970s, and it's very hard to solve for stagflation. That's where we're at right now. Now, I do want to touch briefly upon Donald Trump's cover-up of the Epstein files. I think that Democrats are doing a good job pushing back in the House of Representatives. I guess the plan of Trump and MAGA right now is we're done producing all of the DOJ docs. Like we're done. We're not turning over anything anymore. And Trump's not going to meet with the victims. We've done everything we're supposed to do. Presented with the birthday card that literally has Donald Trump's signature on it, like it's so obvious. Each MAGA Republican beclowns himself or herself worse than the next. Oh, I don't think that's a signature. Okay, it's a signature. I don't need a forensic expert or a handwriting. Like it's obviously his signature. It looks just like it. And then what's the working theory that someone went back to the future and they uncovered and they planted this 22 years ago as a way to frame Donald Trump when he was a Democrat. And then they figured out, how to frame him 22 years later. And then they planted it with all these other cards that existed. I mean, it's just the stupidest thing. I've done Congressmember Moskowitz and Swalwell and Rokan and others have been doing a really good job pointing it out. I've shown those video clips in other episodes. So I don't think I need to show that one here. But let me show you. Actually, should I show him the Moskowitz clip, Jordy?
Let's do Moskowitz, Ben. Let's do Moskowitz was particularly good. Let's show that.
Let's play the Moskowitz. We'll play one. We'll play both of them. Play the first one first.
I'm here to defend him as by far the best investigator of all time in the Capitol, which is exactly why all of his investigations, which have used, Chinese informants that were prosecuted and Russian disinformation, people from prison. I mean, the main thing he was tasked with last year, right, which was the Biden impeachment, that we had a vote. Oh, no, we never had a vote on that because, of course, he didn't find any evidence. So this morning, our close personal friend, Mr. Comer, said that he was not going to look into the letter or the doodle, the president's doodle. He's a decent doodler, by the way. So he wasn't going to look into whether the signature was a forgery, and I'm concerned about that because this is the president of the United States. If there are forgeries or forgers out there, I think we should investigate it. And in fact, this document is 22 years old. So you're telling me someone 22 years ago went back to the future and forged his signature when he was a Democrat. And somehow this person was Nostradamus, knew he would become a Republican, become president 22 years later. So listen, I submit to you that we can solve this problem for the American people. You don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to take our dear personal friend, Mr. Comer's word for it. Let's bring in a signature expert. You guys pick the witnesses. Bring in your signature experts, swear them under oath, and let's have the signature examined. Is it his or it is not his? We don't have to play games or the president says it's not his, we say it's him. No, let's bring in a signature expert, a referee, because we can't agree on anything, even when it's right in our face, of whether that is indeed the president's signature, or if it's a forgery, we should immediately open up an investigation into this forgery. I think that's...
Well, the gentleman yield...
Jordy.
He's spot on. He's spot on. And to that, exactly. Someone went back into the past. They knew Trump was going to be president. They said, hey, let's forge his signature so we can blackmail him about 20 years down the line here. I mean, it's also ridiculous. But I'll say this. The reaction by Donald Trump and his team, and it's certainly not... Sometimes people like to say the cover-up's worse than the crime. In this instance, the crime is the crime, and it's awful, and there's nothing worse than what happened on Epstein's Island. But their reaction, Ben, to Donald Trump and this signature and how they're trying to cover it up, I mean, no one has ever looked more guilty. Let me just put it that way, than how Donald Trump, MAGA, Caroline Leavitt, they're all reacting to the signature. It's unbelievable to me to see. You know what? It's not unbelievable because we see it time and time again with Donald Trump and this regime, how they try to lie their way through everything. And the issue with them on Epstein, Ben, and the Epstein files is there are so many people who are truly hyper-focused, who truly understand just how vile and despicable and disgusting and heinous and every other adjective in the world that went down on Epstein's Island. and that people really want answers to this, that he can't lie his way out of this. He'll continue to try. But this right here, the Epstein files, Jeffrey Epstein, whatever happened on that island, as more and more information continues to come out, people are not going to lose interest in this topic because it's not just something for political posturing. These were girls who were raped by Jeffrey Epstein, the pedophile that he was, and everyone in his pedophile cabal, right? These are folks that want answers. And if there are names out there, and if there are answers out there, you could sure as hell bet that those answers will come to light, Ben. They 1000% will, because people are hyper focused on this.
You know, I see corporate news and a lot on CNN where obviously Fox doesn't even talk about it anymore. But on other corporate news like CNN, they'll be like, but there's really nothing that ties Donald Trump to any wrongdoing. Oh, and they want to like say that because what they're worried about getting sued. Let me look in the camera right now and show you how you do it, CNN or other corporate news. Yes, there is a lot that ties Donald Trump to wrongdoing. I can say that without fear of getting sued, or if I do get sued, I will win. I will sit Donald Trump's ass right in front of me, and I will be glad to take his deposition about Epstein and anything else that Donald Trump was involved in. But you want me to prove it to you very quickly? I don't know. How about the fact that Donald Trump, during this period of time from the 1990s, has been found liable for sexual assault during that period of time? Donald Trump was found liable for a federal jury. Donald Trump's on audio bragging about grabbing women by their genitals. And he says, when you're rich, they let you do it. And for millions of years, fortunately or unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Or you have Donald Trump, who led beauty pageants, who owned beauty pageants that had girls between the ages of 14 to 28. You have Donald Trump going on and doing interviews where he said one of the perks about owning beauty pageants was that you get to inspect them naked. You get to look at them naked because you're like the inspector because you own the pageant. You just walk right in on them. You also have the fact that Mar-a-Lago was used as the grounds for sex trafficking. Now, Donald Trump can say, I didn't know about it. But if your home was used as the grounds for sex trafficking, probably would not be a good look for you. What if in Biden's home or Obama's home? You can say, well, Donald Trump's got a big home. And well, okay, fine. What's your argument? Your argument is that he didn't know about, well, what did he say? He said that Epstein would steal the girls from his spa, like Virginia Giuffre, the underage child who was sex trafficked by Epstein in the year 2000. But then 2 years later, Donald Trump says Epstein's a great guy who likes beautiful women. Many are on the younger side. Okay, well, I gave you those facts right there. Liable for sexual assault, bragging about sexually assaulting women, talking about inspecting them naked at beauty pageants. Mar-a-Lago was the grounds where at least some of the girls were sex trafficked, like Virginia Giuffre. Undisputed facts. The fact that we can't look at, the fact that we don't have the moral clarity in the United States to process what I just said and go, yeah, that guy shouldn't be leading the country.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You could apply that to everything, Jordy, and I'll just, apply that to the economy. 17 trillion. What's CNBC doing? You have Joe Kernan, a MAGA guy on CNBC. Like, you can't even watch CNBC. It's not even a financial.
You can't watch CNBC. It's unwatchable. That's one of the biggest cons out there right now is CNBC, Ben. You talk about this all the time. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like it's supposed to be the financial network. They've got the MAGA host who's frankly worse than OAN or any of these like Real Voices of America. Like, this guy is worse than that. And it's like Trump's making up 17 trillion. Could you imagine if Biden or Obama or George W. Bush or Clinton, I got $17 trillion. The stock market would absolutely tank. And there'd be an impeachment for making up 17 trillion. Just look at the monthly deficit again. I led with this, but let me close the show with this. The monthly deficit in August was $345 billion. Revenues, $344 billion. Spending, $689 billion. That means we spent $345 billion more than we took in, hence the deficit. So the total deficit for 2025 is $1.973 trillion. Round up and just say $2 trillion. Okay, math was never my best subject. But if we brought in 17 trillion, the way Donald Trump said, and the deficit is 2 trillion, to me that means our surplus is 15 trillion. So there's the budget committee. MAGA Republicans on the budget committee. Why are we even worried about a shut? You have infinite money. Wait a minute. The 17 trillion is not showing up on our books? Huh? And the fact, Jordy, that that's not even a scandal. That Donald Trump just gets to go there and be in the Yankees locker room with his teeny tiny thumb up while he lies about even something like that. And it doesn't register. It won't be on the front page of anywhere. I mean, it pisses me off. What a lie. It's a Ponzi. And then what happens, Jordy? A year from now, 6 months from now, a shocker. More bad news. A shocker. Where did this come from? Another shocker. It's like, y'all are all complicit in this. And I guess one of the hard things to process in all of this is how many cooperators there are. How many complicit human beings there are. How many people you thought were good and decent people who turned out to be pieces of shit. And that's it's a hard thing to process because you're not a good person if you're enabling this bad. You're just as bad. And then don't come running back to me 4 years from now. Oh, I had to do it. I was just following orders, or you were so courageous. You did the right thing. Fuck you. Seriously,
Exactly.
F you. Don't talk to me in the future. I mean it. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to know it. I don't want you to crawl your way back into my life. Get the hell out. Get the hell out.
Exactly.
Because y'all are all just as responsible for that. So not sure if I'm ending it on a positive note or a negative
I'll end
note.
it on a positive note here, though, real quick before we sign off. I just want to say the one silver lining, Ben, of the internet and of the culture that we're living in right now is that we no longer have to be gay-kept by CNN, Fox News of the world, the CNBCs, which is, again, just a ploy, and it's unbelievable. But we have this. We have the MeidasTouch Network. We have a lot of other great independent media out there that are doing the work, that are bringing the receipts, are bringing the facts and data to the table. So we no longer, as a society, have to rely on just standard cable news anymore. In fact, most people, Ben, don't. I mean, the amount of cord cutters we see out there is unbelievable. And what we're doing, around 350 million views now on the MeidasTouch Network every single month. We're beating Fox News. We're beating all of them on digital, Ben. And so that's a testament, not to us, but to you, the Meidas Mighty, and you, the listener, for craving the facts, the data, the receipts that we as a collective here at the network get to bring every single day, whether it's here on the MeidasTouch YouTube or on our Substack, Meidas Plus, or wherever on the various socials accounts. And if you are consuming other independent media, I'm sure they're doing a great job as well. You know, we're in a time right now, Ben, where people are fed up of the gaslighting. And that's what I love so much about this community here, is every single day, everyone motivates me to work harder. And they motivate our entire staff to work harder. We have such an incredible team here, from Salty and all of our producers and all the editorial staff. I mean, we're hungry. Collective, we are hungry for the truth, for normalcy, right? To live in a world where we don't have to be scared about what the commander-in-chief is posting or truth socialing, and it's just unbelievable times that we're living in. Again, don't allow yourself to be gaslit by corporate media. We're all in this together, and it's a crazy time period for sure. We're going to get through this, because every single day we're going to wake up, we're going to bring the facts, the data, the receipts. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast on audio, wherever you listen to podcasts. Please become a subscriber of the YouTube channel. One of the things we're saying is 6 by 26, 6 million subscribers by 2026. It's aggressive, but the Meidas Mighty, y'all have never let me down before. So please hit that subscribe button right now. 6 by 26. We're going to get there. Thank you all so much. Another great episode. Benji, you did a fantastic job. Brett, can't wait to see you next show, big bro. Benji, you the man. Shout out to the Midas Mighty! Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.